And thank you everyone for joining us. I would like to welcome our panelists and participants in our audience to a conversation on creating inclusive learning opportunities through STEAM programs. This conversation comes at a critical time where STEAM skills are increasingly important for opening the door to students to opportunities with high demand, strong financial security, and future flexible impact. School-supported STEAM programs that are meaningful, hands-on, relevant, and intentionally designed to be inclusive of students' needs, preferences, and address barriers can create profound impact in the classroom, in a student's career, in their community, and in creating a more inclusive society for us all. To dive deeper into this conversation, we have a really exciting panel of educators joining us today. To our panelists, thank you again for joining us. We appreciate your time, and we would love to begin with introductions. As you introduce yourself, if you wouldn't mind, please share with us your title, your district, a brief description of your role, and a brief description of the community of students with which you work. I would love to begin with you, Katrina. Okay, if you're
Hi,
still
good afternoon.
unmuted,
Oh,
perfect.
yep, I'm unmuted. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Miss Katrina Miller, and I currently work for the Chicago Public Schools District, which serves over 300,000 students. I've been working for this district for almost 20 years, where I'm currently the program manager for the Applied Computer Science team, which resides under our STEM and Teaching and Learning department.
Thank you, Katrina. Could you describe a little bit the students you serve?
So the students that we serve is, like I said, we have a wide demographic of students, both African American and Latino students, which are being the majority of our population. And so for us, we strive to we've had a lot of challenges in our district, but for the most part, we are working towards building towards equity for all of our students as it relates to STEM and computer science programming.
Perfect, thank you. And Dr. Costa-Guerra, if you could introduce yourself as well.
Thank you, but I'm gonna let the ladies go first, and I'll follow down. So I'll pass it down to Miss LaShawn.
Perfect.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is LaShawn Sims. I am the Senior Director for STEM Enrichment and Computer Science with the Detroit Public Schools Community District. We serve about 50,000 students across a little over 100 schools, and we are a primarily African American school district.
Wonderful, thank you. And Dr. Costa-Guerra, back to you.
All right, I want to start this. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Boris Costa Guerra. Born in La Paz, Bolivia, but raised in Taos, New Mexico, and have the opportunity and blessings to work for Denver Public Schools. We're about 90,000 students, 207 schools. With that, 52% Latino or Hispanic students, 13% Black students, as well as 30% MLL, also known as ELL students, and about 10% special education.
Thank you for introducing yourself. I will also briefly introduce myself. My name is Myra Sheikh, and I am the Advocacy Manager for LEGO Education. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. We'll get started with questions. So, Dr. Costa-Guerra, the first question is for you, actually. Why is it important that all students, particularly students from historically marginalized communities, have access to quality STEM learning?
All right. Well, thank you for that. First couple of things I want to address is bienvenidos. I see people from Mexico, Argentina are joining us, all over the nation, different states, and also South Africa. So thank you for taking time to have a conversation and hear our discussions about how important STEAM should be in the schools. And two, I want to just give a huge shout out. It is Women History Month, so shout out to all the women. Thank you that everything you do, the world would not be the same without you all. This is coming as a son of mom and a husband of a beautiful wife. So two things I want to make sure we address. And then going to your question, why is it, number one thing I think is closing the opportunity gap. The opportunity gap has increased, especially even now with COVID. We've seen a lot of students really get behind within our language arts and mathematics and social emotional. So one, I would say it's really important closing the opportunity gaps. Two is bringing diversity perspective for innovation. Innovation has been around forever, but this gives an opportunity to bring our students to have opportunities to become innovators with our educators, which I think is really crucial. Three is economic empowerment. We want to be able to expose our students early in the stage to be able to be aware of different types of jobs or opportunities in the university that they could follow throughout their career. Representation matters. There's nothing more when someone looks like you that is up there doing it. Making sure that we have the right representation to that field is really important because it's one of the highest increases fields that we have in our worldwide in our communities, but most importantly, like the jobs are not being filled. So it's really important for us to have that. Building critical skills is another must. We used to think computer science, especially with Legos, provides that opportunity to be critical thinkers, which really we were looking at for many years, but we stopped doing it because we started looking about memorization. This stops the memorization type and creates innovation and critical skills. And then the last thing I would say is bringing in different types of backgrounds to be exposed to this is really important to me because I think there's many opportunities for our students to be able to demonstrate what their knowledge and the intelligence they bring into our fields.
Thank you so much for that answer. And just for all of our panelists, even if I'm directing the conversation to one of you, if you have additional information or point of view that you'd love to add on, please feel free to do so. So with that, I'll open the floor if Katrina or LaShawn, if you want to add anything to that previous question. If not, LaShawn, the next question is for you. You've told us that your vision is to ensure that every student has equitable access to computer science learning. How do you see computer science being a transformative opportunity for K through 12 students in your district?
Thank you, Myra. One thing I like to consider is that we are preparing students for a workforce that we don't really know what the requirements will be. One thing I know is that computational thinking will support students in whatever fields they choose to pursue. So I consider what we get to do in educating students and offering these opportunities in computer science is just allowing them to have those options, allowing them to have opportunities, as my co-panelists said, and just letting them build their or helping them build their toolkit so that they're ready for what the future holds.
It's a great answer. I mean, you bring up the phrase, we don't really know if, fully what we're preparing them for. Careers are changing so rapidly. Dr. Costagera and Katrina, if you have any additional thoughts on that preparation, would love to hear that as well. I'm also happy to go to the next question as you think about that as well. Feel free. Go ahead, Dr. Costagera.
I'll add, one key thing that we're looking at is transformative versus transactional, right? And I think the school has been sometimes used as a way to, once they graduate, we're done with them, and we don't really have opportunities for us to engage anymore because they finished the K-12. I love that the question says transformation because we got to be able to transform what we're doing to make sure that we're providing opportunities for our communities, right? Empowering our students to be able to have that. So, LaShonda, thank you for sharing that answer. I really applaud the way you answered that, and I agree. It's a transformation, not a transactional piece.
Thank
It's a
you.
really great point to call out. Katrina, the next question is for you. How do you build excitement and interest around the importance of STEAM learning in your district?
So we do it by several ways. One of the ways our team builds that excitement and interest is basically through a lot of our CS programming and family engagement opportunities for all of our teachers, students, and parents. STEM hosts events such as the NASCAR and STEM reimagining events where students and parents are invited to engage and just learn about all of the different STEM and CS offerings they can be involved in at their schools. Through computer science, our applied computer science team focuses on student programming and out of school time opportunities for students. Which includes our CS Esports program, our first Lego League robotics programs, along with our TECO Youth Apprenticeship program, where we have high school senior students who learn how to become a technology coordinator within CPS, and they get paid for their participation during school. We also have a lending library program where teachers can reserve physical computing devices for a specified period of time to be implemented in their classrooms with their students. And so even with that, as I mentioned, our lending library, library through physical computing. We do build on those computational thinking skills that LaShawn mentioned, before, because it's really important for our students to be able to solve problems. And in solving those problems, we want them to get into, solving those problems, meaning you're identifying that problem, getting them into algorithmic thinking on how to take steps to be able to, again, just resolve conflicts or situations or things, or the different challenges that we face in our environments. So those are just a lot of the things that quite a few of the things that we do. And I'm probably being very light when I say all of this, because we really do a lot of work when it comes to a lot of our programming with our teachers and students.
Thank you for sharing that. I mean, I will offer this question for everyone else as well. How are you working to build that excitement and interest towards your programs in your district?
Well, I can jump in here. One way is just by getting the word out. We have so many things happening here. I don't think we compare with Chicago, though. It's like, whoa, that's a lot of stuff. But we do have a lot of different things that we offer and a lot of different things at different schools. So making sure students and families know what's available. We have a hub that we are able to share information on. And then there's also a student hub that is specifically designed for students where they can find out different things that are going on in the district.
That's fantastic.
We,
Okay, the
we
next
do,
question. Go ahead, sorry.
we do similar things as Chicago, but we have one huge venue that we do, which is called the STEAM Expo. And we host that collaborative with universities, and we bring all students, parents, communities, and members. I think last year about 3,000 people showed up and be able to be exposed to everything that Katrina said, including esports, which is one of the highest or the fastest growing activity right now, which is also sponsored by the High School Association. So one is really providing opportunities for communities to be able to see this, students to be able to be exposed to it. But the second biggest thing that we've done is we actually bring people that look like the students to be able to see themselves doing it. So we'll bring students to be able to be role models. We'll bring community members that look like the students. So then they make that connections. And it's magic because they'll say like, hey, I see you over there by my grocery store. I saw you over there. So now you're over here. And he makes that spark happen, saying it's no longer just a person presenting, it's somebody that actually goes, and the parents start building those relationships too.
That's an amazing point. It's not just people who look like you, but people you recognize. And it really brings home that these are opportunities that you can also have access to. It's wonderful. The next question is for everyone on our panel. Each of the districts represented today have different STEAM offerings in their schools. How have each of you gained support from school administrators and teachers district-wide?
I'll go ahead and go. For us, it's really, again, pretty much what LaShawn and Boris was saying is really about getting the word out, because we have so many different programmings, again, opportunities and programs that a lot of our, administrators and teachers don't know about. I remember when I was working at the school level, I didn't even know that the computer science department existed, but yet I was implementing, Scratch programming in my classrooms with my students. And so, just all of the, robotics, dealing with drones and, a few other computing devices and technology that I was implementing with my students, and even doing instructional technology with my teachers, because I was also the technology coordinator as well as the tech teacher. So really just that word of mouth. We also communicate with our administrators of our schools to help them understand the importance, again, of our CS and STEM opportunities that are available for our schools. And again, that's through our professional development opportunities, again, through our programming, working with our different departments across Chicago Public Schools, because that work, that collaboration is very, very important. We just had our teaching, our TNL, we call it our TNL, but our teaching and learning event this last week, Tuesday. And it was really great because, sometimes because we're all working in our separate departments, we're still collaborating, but just to be able to share what you're doing and, to share that work out with your colleagues so that, again, because we are such a large school district, again, we serve over 300,000 students. It can be really hard to, not necessarily hard, but yeah, it can be hard to try to, navigate through all of the red tape at times. And so again, that collaboration just with, with our district, between our, central office teams and departments, as well as our schools, administrators and teachers, those partnerships, and even with our external partners are just, it's phenomenal, and we continue to work through those barriers and those challenges, as we know a lot of school districts face. And so for us, that teamwork is what really helps propel our work and moving forward to better serve our teachers and students.
Yeah, I can add to that. I appreciate that, Katrina. And I'll also add that just having like personal relationships with people, with teachers, with administrators. I worked in the district before. I just returned in October, but I've worked here for 20 years before. And now that I'm back, when I have opportunities that I want to offer, I have like that trust with some of my colleagues, and I'm able to say like, "Hey, would you consider this program, or are you interested in this?" And I get a lot of support that way. And then we have schools that have STEM labs in them, and we have schools that have dedicated STEM teachers. And those teachers and administrators are constantly looking for ways to improve the programs that they're offering students.
Beautiful. I just everything you're saying, and what I always say is like our Denver Public Schools vision is that every learner thrives. And as we're having those discussions with relationships and also principals, is really connecting that our strategic plan, Denver Public Schools, for a safe and welcoming environment and grade level task and task. This computer science allows us to be in education in a different mode that really engages and motivates students that we lost during COVID. So it really provides that opportunity, making that connection, and also having those honest conversations with our principals and our teachers, how Legos has literacy and mathematics developed with the common standards or state standards that we follow. So we're allowing an opportunity for teachers to bring back their creativity hats within Legos and computer sciences, and making sure we're providing opportunities for them to be able to showcase and be appreciated for the work. So I think that is the biggest key, is relationships, communication, but also making that connection with our district priorities, our vision, and then how that's implemented into the schools.
Thank you all. I'm sure that the folks that are listening in today are really benefiting from your experience. Dr. Costaguer, you mentioned the phrase "every learner thrives." I wanted to take a moment to pull a question from the chat. We will have a Q&A at the end for folks, again, that are not able to use the chat for whatever reason, but I just want to make sure that we address the question that is there. So with the phrase "every learner thrives," how do you create learning opportunities and inclusive practices for neurodiverse students in STEAM? And if you'd also like to share an experience with LEGO Education, that's entirely up to you.
I think that's a wonderful question. And in education, we serve all students, and every student has different abilities. And as we're working with both the principals, we're also working with special education case managers to ensure that we have the positive incomes on it. One is making sure we have the accommodations set forth and making sure we're setting up our students and our teachers for success. Two is looking at the lesson plans to ensure that it is grade level and it is tailored for the student's need. And the third thing too, it is teamwork. It is teamwork. And that's the most beautiful thing that I love, is that students get a chance to be able to be in an inclusive classroom, to be able to work with their peers.
For us, as far as supporting our diverse learners, because even as we run our first Lego League competition teams, for us, what I found out from the last 2 years that we've been doing this robotics programming is that we do have a lot of a lot of our diverse learner students who do participate on these teams. And so for them, we just refer back to those core values, right? Those first Lego League core values. And those core values again are, through the discovery, exploring new skills and ideas. We know about the innovation because we want them, want to be able to tap into their creativity. And, again, as I stated before, about solving problems, learning how to identify and solve those problems. Also through the impact, applying what they've learned to improve the world, because we're also, again, we're facing all of these different challenges, each and every day human problems, that we have to solve. And we do want to prepare our students for, for those type of leadership roles and jobs and different things that'll help us as just human beings to be able to improve on inclusion. Again, just demonstrating respect and just embracing each other's differences, because we do have those. And again, just demonstrating teamwork, and again, always having fun, because that is that, not saying that that's always the end goal, but we want them to have fun with whatever they're learning and whatever it is they're doing as it relates to technology and robotics and all of the in STEM and all of the things that just kind of build our students up, right? And we also want to continue to always build their confidence, and so when they do their presentations and they learn those robot design skills, it does increase their confidence. One of the schools I know, I used to work at Libby Elementary School. They were a brand new team last year, and they participated in the first Lego League. They were from between 6th and 8th graders, and one of the teachers, Miss Rashonda Booker, she worked really, really well with those kids. And I'm telling you, they actually, for their first time, they actually ended up going to sectionals. And so it really, they really were feeling, they're looking at all these other teams like, oh my God, can we really do this? And it's like, yeah, you can do it, and so really just building up that confidence level in our students to let them know that, hey, you can do this, because sometimes technology can be a bit intimidating to our students, sometimes even to us as adults. So for us, it's just about really building that confidence with our students, and just really, that's why I said the programming is just so important, because when they're introduced to these things, they have a better way to again learn these skills, and in learning these skills over time, they really, really, truly get it. They truly get it. And so yeah, sorry, I think I'm a little long-winded on that one.
No, thank you. We love when the passion comes out and you want to share your experiences. I know we've talked sort of generally about some of your programs. I would love to get in a little bit of the specifics. Dr. Costa Guerra with Denver Public Schools, the program's a little bit different maybe than what Chicago and Detroit are doing. Would you mind telling us a little bit about the genesis of your Saturday enrichment program and how hands-on learning fits into your model, and how have you tailored your program specifically to meet the needs of your students? You're muted.
Oh, I had just finished everything. Let me restart then. Yeah, so we have a very comprehensive STEAM program from K to 12 that we do anything from robotics to different types of robotics within elementary, middle, high school. But the Saturday school is unique because we started a Saturday school program last spring. And our whole vision was that to be able to provide students the opportunity to continue to develop the literacy in mathematics, because of the COVID opportunity gap, such a huge missed opportunity for them to be able to be engaged and motivated. And looking, and NWEA came out with an article in August. And in there, it shows that our students that look like me, that are marginalized like me, are the ones that are not making those academic growth by year. As a matter of fact, they went way below. And that article's been published many times. NWEA has published the COVID results for the last 2 years within our students. That really represented a lot of our brown and black students. And that gave us an opportunity to start working with our principals, saying, what can we do? Historically, Saturday school has been used as a school for punishment because of attendance, because of behavior, or academics, meaning that the student was late to school, roaming around the halls, or couldn't behave in the classroom, so they have to make up instructional time. We didn't want to do that. We wanted to provide an opportunity where, just like my colleague Katrina said, it is a fun place to be at where they can continue to learn mathematics and literacy. So as we designed this program, from last February to May, we had about 900 students show up. 10 schools pilot this with me. And We looked at math interventions. We looked at literacy interventions, but we wanted that fun. We wanted that piece for the kids that are excited. And that's where Legos came in. We wanted to be able to get the Legos, not just any Legos. We wanted the one that they're doing coding, because I know students that are like me are going to be motivated to be exposed to that. And parents want the best for the kids. They want them to have the opportunity to catch up and be exposed to Legos and coding, micro coding, but most importantly, having fun in a safe place. This year, when we rolled off in the fall, after reading that article again, we had 41 schools join us. Over 1,700 students are attending every Saturday, meaning they're giving away their Saturdays to be with us. And one of the biggest highlight is having opportunities, not just for the students, but our lovely teachers to be exposed and have opportunities with Legos, because Legos is a generation piece that many people had the opportunities, one, to play with and attend Legos. But we know that this is an expensive program. So we work strategically with many other departments to make this happen, because it's not just about just a transactional piece that here's the product. We came out with outcomes for our students. We wanted to make sure that Legos had opportunities for students to do literacy and mathematics. And for our new to country students that are coming in from Venezuela, other countries, they're exposed to language and collaborative work in small group settings on it. And that's what makes us unique, because now the students are looking forward to going in on Saturdays. They go to school on Mondays with a positive attitude, and so do our teachers, because they know it's a place that's safe and they continue to develop and seeing great results.
Thank you for sharing that. Our next question is for all of our panelists. As you're thinking about, how you've tailored your programs as well to meet the needs of your students, would you also mind talking about the challenges each of you encounter as you expand offerings through more sites in your district, and also how you've overcome those challenges?
I can go ahead. Where you going, Katrina? Okay, okay. At least one challenge I know is that there is competition with like sports and other things in our district. So that has been an issue with expanding our offerings. What else? Um, I think the way we market STEM sometimes can push kids away. Like if a child is not great in math and science, they automatically think it's not for them, when there's so many other things that go into it, and so many skills that can be developed from these programs. So I think when we find ways, there was a question in the chat about the difference in STEM and STEAM, and when we find ways to show kids that, like, yes, art is involved, graphic arts, whatever kind of, visual arts, whatever it is that you may be interested in, you can find your place in a STEM or STEAM program. And once we're able to do that, I think we'll have like kids beating down the doors to join our programs, or that's my hope.
Some of the challenges I know that we face at times when especially when we're creating, when we're forming these robotics programs, at at the school level. Sometimes a lot of times it can be funding. We have a lot of teachers who express interest and want to join, but there are barriers to the material, just sometimes, having the funds to purchase materials and have registrations and costs and different things. And so we work with our, like right now, we're currently working with our OST department, where we are working with them to try to provide OST funding to our schools if they want to have a robotics program, if they want to have an esports program, in order to be able to, have that implemented for their students. Also, we work with our first partners as it relates to our as it relates to funding, as far as any scholarships, grants that are available. And one of the grants that we actually have is our Lego Foundation grant. And so through that grant, we have supported a lot of our new challenge teams with funding for like registration and materials, as I talked about before. And it goes a long way for our teachers and coaches who want to implement this program. So we host a variety of events for our first Lego League teams, with the scrimmages, again, to help build that student confidence. our PDs, those skill building sessions that our elementary school team pretty much runs for those teams, and for the coaches to help build their capacity in supporting those teams as well. And so each year we host a robotics showcase to celebrate our teams who, won robotics awards at the qualifiers, and they progressed on to the sectionals and sometimes to the state competitions. And so our students, again, building that excitement, building that confidence really goes a long way. So for us to be able to find different grant funding sources for them to be able to implement this type of programming really goes a long way for our schools.
Dr. Costaguer, if you'd also like to speak to challenges, and LaShawn, if you'd also like to address funding, if that's part of the challenges you face, I'm sure our participants would love to hear from both of you on that point as well.
Well, I agree with both my colleagues. Those are two very important things. I think I would also add is being able to measure the academic of literacy and mathematics with the Lego implementation, meaning like what assessment can we provide within students being able to implement some of the literacy and mathematics. And I've talked to Legos about this, and hopefully we could come up with a solution on it. Knowing that my hat is curriculum instruction, I'm an instructional leader, so I'm always looking at ways to be able to demonstrate how well little Boris did when he did this Lego project, and how his parents should be really proud because he's able to practice some of the vocabulary words and demonstrate some of the proficiencies both in social and emotional. I think another challenge that we have is that we continue to continuously shift when we start implementing programs, saying, okay, we did that, now let's do something else, instead of giving time to be able to provide opportunities to flourish, right? And I think our colleague said exactly, some of the funding says we lost funding, so we could no longer be at this school or have these programs, but there's many opportunities. There's a sign behind me that says you could have results or you could have excuses, but you can't have both. And as district leaders, our job is to make sure we have positive results for our students that have the highest impact for our students who are especially marginalized. And that includes building those relationships outside our community, 2, looking for grants, and 3, having the courage to say, like, I agree and disagree with you that this is very powerful. The other opportunity is really having that relationship with that principal to making sure that they're supporting the vision. And the biggest thing is like celebrate. We forget to like celebrate, take a minute, post a picture, have an announcement, go visit the school, have the kids hyped up, go to the parents, call the parents, say, look, little Boris did this. That's the stuff that really makes the difference, is when we start seeing those students smile big and they feel good about themselves. I've had that blessing to meet a senior that's going to be an aero astronaut to see you because they were exposed to Legos in the beginning. And that student inspired me to saying, what am I doing for other students to follow? Because unfortunately, he said, yeah, but that stopped in that middle school and I never saw it again in high school. And he inspired me to say, like, as a district leader, I need to go in there and find the money. And we're in the safe space here with you all. I trust you all, but sometimes we got to remind our partners saying, like, I know you want to buy new desks and new tables or new sofas and furniture, but let's not use that money there yet. Like, we don't need to replace that. Let's start buying stuff that we could really make a difference within our Legos, computer science, robotics. And I think that shift of collaboration allows them to think, it's like, yeah, we don't need any tables. We could use that for another 2 years. Let's use that money. And that has happened to me both as a principal and as a district leader.
Thank you for that. The next question is also for all of you. We would love for you to give an example, or in your mind, if you don't have a direct example just off the top of your head, what it would look like in your mind. What does a successful STEAM program implementation look like? And one piece of advice you would give to other districts looking to implement inclusive hands-on STEAM programs in their districts. And this is for every one of our panelists.
I would say for us, as far as really just to build, just to have a rigorous, I think it starts in the classroom, right? Just that intentional planning, just making that first step forward in those classrooms course, you have to always have the support, as Boris and LaShawn talked about, having that support of our administrators, right? And of course, our district leaders as well. But really, just that productive struggle, the relevance, problem solving, teamwork, and just the rigor of bringing those type of elements into what a STEAM classroom is. What does that look like? So and it could look like in a different number of ways depending on as we relate it to our students, right? So for us, it's just really about what is it that our teachers want to see, what are understanding what their struggles and are in the classroom, what is it that they're trying to implement with a lot of STEM, computer science, like how do they want to build these type of structures in their classrooms. So for us, it's really about just that intentional planning, but it does start in the classroom. And you never want to make it a mandate either, because you don't want to take the fun or the excitement or the fun or the drive out of for teachers to say, oh, we got to do this. We want teachers to want to be able to implement these type of programs into the district and into the classrooms. But first, it starts in the classroom.
It's a
I
really
would,
interesting point about the mandate. LaShawn, go ahead.
yeah, thank you. I agree with that, Katrina. My first thought is it starts with teachers and students having the voice of what they want to engage in. And from the district level, not pushing anything down, but providing the support and the resources for them. One thing I love about our partnership with Lego Education is the ongoing support. So a lot of times when we throw stuff in classrooms and don't provide adequate professional learning for teachers, it kind of get pushed to the side. So I love like the monthly check-ins or having a person who can come out and work alongside teachers to support them in implementation.
I would say yes to everything and exposure, over communication, celebration. We need to feed the students because you know what? They're already praying. They're programmed for this. We're behind them. Like this kids in your classroom are the next Thomas Edison, and we're not providing the opportunity to push their shoulders and shows what they can do. In the classrooms, we have teachers that are amazing. They're geniuses over there. I mean, you go in there and they're like, I'm doing this, and that, this, and that. And you're like, how are you going to do that? Boom, it pops out. So we have so much talent that we're not tapping into. What is success is providing the opportunity for them to be able to do it and trusting that they're doing it. I think we get so stuck on the scope and sequence that we have to move with the Common Core state standards or the state standards that we forget, like, we are doing it. It may not look like the way the curriculum that we bought, the curriculum that we bought with the vendors, but it looks different, but it's meeting the same need. And there's a book written by Peter Brown called Make It Stick. And it's about the theory of learning. How do you make that learning stay? And he continues to say it's about implementation. How are you implementing this in your life in a way that actually learning sticks? Repetition doesn't work. So I would say exposure, and trust.
I mean, your point about celebration was also called out in the chat, and I want to reflect it back again. I'm sure that it's resonating with members of our audience as well. LaShawn, you mentioned it starts with teachers and students, and I think that's a great way to sort of lean into our final question for you guys here today. From us, obviously, we have a Q&A opportunity as well. And we really want to ask you to dive deeper. Some of you have sort of talked about this, but how do you really help ensure all students can see themselves in some of these STEAM careers and see themselves building on these STEM skills in the future? In what ways that hands-on learning connecting students to those future opportunities? If you could talk about that, we would love to hear from your experience.
I can start here. The first opportunity that comes to mind with our high school teams, I think almost all of our high school teams have FIRST Robotics teams, and we partner with a facility called the Michigan Engineering Zone. It's actually where I used to work before I came back here. And it's a build space, so it's a safe community. The district partners by providing transportation for students to get there, And then the staff there provides like professional mentors. One thing that I love is it's through the University of Michigan, the College of Engineering. So there's like a cadre of engineering students who come in and work with the students. So there's the near peer factor there. And then we have the industry professionals who come in and they're professional mentors. So they come from various industries with STEM backgrounds and they work with our students and students get to know them personally and professionally. I think that helps them see themselves in those careers.
For us at Chicago Public Schools, I think I mentioned this before, we do a lot of this through our robotic showcases, our scrimmages, even sometimes at the qualifier competitions. But a lot of it is just through having those events, those hands-on events where students and our student schools can come to see exactly like what did it take for you to be a successful team, right? We're currently planning our robotic showcase as we speak to take place in April. And the last couple of years we had it at Truman College, and students were able to come and just kind of see, so we do have those teams who participate who we're celebrating, but we also have other schools who do come out. They did participate, but they might not have gotten as far as like where the other teams were, but they get to participate in those skill building workshops and things that we provide and create in order to be able to become even a better team for next year. And again, just having fun. And again, these events are a big deal for us as a team because we get to kind of show out in a sense. So our students gets to show out, they get to celebrate. So again, that those celebration pieces that Boris talked about is very, very phenomenal, and that is something that we as a district, as a team, truly engage in, especially as we collaborate even with our STEM colleagues. A lot of the different family engagement events that they put on that we participate in as well. It's phenomenal. It's great to see the parents. It's great to see, especially when parents are involved. It's the best thing ever because it's like just like basketball or soccer. I was a soccer mom. I went out there and I cheered on my son. Cheerleading. My girls were in cheerleading. So it's the same thing even with robotics. It's the same thing. When they see their kids actually doing what they love, it's just such a beautiful thing to see. So for us, especially for me, because like I said, I'm a mother of three uh, Chicago Public School graduates, so they're all the way grown. But for me, and they're in STEM careers as we speak, and so for us, it's really all about letting our parents know what exactly, hey, these are the opportunities that your students can be involved in. If this program is not at your school, let's advocate for it, right? So that's what one that piece to what we do. Myra, I think you're muted.
Sorry, now it's my turn to do this. Dr. Kosiger, if you'd also like to answer the question, you mentioned a little bit earlier about the STEAM fair.
Yeah, am I sharing my screen?
Yes.
All right, so this is exactly we like to see. Pictures worth 1,000 words. You see middle school working with elementary students, looking at students that look like me that don't have this opportunity. You see a principal smiling. You see a teacher there in a classroom. I think it's really important for us to always remember why we do the work we do and the impact it has. So it is about exposure. It is opportunities, and it is a way to create a space for failure. We always think failure is a negative thing, but it's not. Failure equals learning. Opportunity for them to be able to see themselves overcome obstacles, create relationships, practice math literacy and language development. We do a lot of STEAM Expo and opportunities for them to see, but nothing could ever do anything when a kid sees another kid doing something and how they make that connections. And you don't even have to say anything, but the kids already know, like, hey, I want to do that. I want to play. And they create that relationship.
Thank you for that. I mean, this conversation can keep going and going. You guys have such amazing experience to share with our participants. I want to call out in the chat that my colleague Emily has shared some career resources provided by LEGO Education. As all of you have mentioned, sometimes it's seeing yourself in the careers, and it's also that sometimes we don't know these careers exist. So it's an opportunity for us to also lean into that conversation and create some exposure for our students about some cool STEAM careers kids may have never heard of. So there's definitely resources in the chat for all of you to check out. Now I'd love to transition over to a Q&A with our participants. Again, apologies that some of you may not have been able to use the chat to ask your questions. If you're able to do so and have a question this time, feel free to drop it in the chat. You're also welcome to use the little hand raise feature at the top, and we can call you out if you're comfortable unmuting yourself and asking the question live as well. So I'll give you just a second to start to do that, give our panelists a chance to take a breather, and we'll transition over to Q&A. Looks like we have our first question from Jess. Don't forget to unmute
Hello.
yourself.
Oh, my favorite question is, what is your favorite brick?
Are you referring to
And here's my
the
favorite
brick?
brick. What's that?
Are you referring to the 6 bricks, Jeff?
I'm referring to any brick. There's a lot of Lego bricks out there. You got a favorite?
The red one for me.
You like the red? I like the red one. This is a good one. Oh,
Any other questions from our participants or our panelists today? We have a question from Jasmine.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jasmine Roberson from Detroit, Michigan. My question is for Mrs. Sims. I was wondering, I'm at Wayne State University and I run pre-college engineering programs. Is there proper channels to go about partnering with DPSCD? We have year-round programming, Saturdays after schools and summer, where we have our college students and faculty help develop curriculum and bring in the children from the community. And we would love to also potentially work in the schools as well. So we just sponsored our first Lego League team of K-5, and we're hosting the first robotics tournament for high schoolers. We'll have 40 teams competing this in about a week. So is there ways that we can go about partnering?
Absolutely. Hi, Jasmine. We met at the
No.
Apple event.
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember.
So we should talk. We can talk offline, but
Okay.
I'll drop my my email address in the chat. And while I have the floor, I want to talk about one of the celebrations that we do, because I do think it's just super important. So we have a huge STEM award ceremony every year, and I'm new, but I believe it's been happening for about 5 years, and it is like the Grammys, where the top players for chess, academic games, robotics, the math bee, Destination Imagination, so many things are celebrated. The parents are invited, and I just love that, and I wanted to highlight that. I'm excited about working on that this year. But thank you, Jasmine. There's my email address.
The STEM Grammys sound
you.
amazing. I hope there's a red carpet. And congratulations, Jasmine, on shooting your shot. It was successful. We love that these forums are an opportunity to really do all of those things. I think we have time for maybe one more question from our audience, if there is one. If not, I see, LaShawn, you did add your email address for the rest of our panelists. And LaShawn, yourself included, if you're open to questions from other participants in the future, feel free to drop yours. If not, that's also totally up to you. Okay, so there is a question from the chat that I'm gonna, okay, we have one hand raised and we have one in the chat. For the person that's raising their hand, would you mind unmuting and asking your question? And then I will ask the one from the chat right after.
Hi, my name is Kusi Hamlin, and I actually am looking at things with a little bit of a twist. I have a nonprofit, and our goal is to turn our city, which is approximately 100,000 people total, into a STEAM city. So one of the things that I'm looking at is there's a lot of homeschoolers. With the Saturday program, do you all allow some of these homeschoolers, because they don't have the same kind of resources as children in regular public schools?
Currently, we're not. We're really focusing within our students in our schools that have demonstrated. And the reason why is because we're tracking their literacy and mathematics to ensure we're demonstrating that progress on it. We're looking in the future how we can expand this to provide other opportunities for students outside the schools, though.
Thank you for that question, and thank you for your answer, Dr. Costa Guerra. We are basically at time today, so we have one last question at the chat that I'm going to highlight and ask everyone, if they have an answer to this, to just drop it into the chat, including our panelists, which is that if you are working hands-on with LEGO Education right now, what is your favorite unit lesson? And if you're not working with us yet, what is your favorite subject to teach to your students within the big variety of STEAM subjects that you teach? With that, I want to say thank you to our panelists and to our participants today. Our panelists are phenomenal. The information that we've gotten from you today, especially to celebrate, to connect with your teachers, to really highlight collaboration and communication, is incredibly important. I'm sure that our participants have learned a ton from you, and I look forward to all of you connecting offline more. With that, I'd love to turn it over to my colleague Emily, just to give you a quick roundup on our customer success program as well. Thank you, everyone.
And thank you, Myra. Thank you, Katrina and Dr. Costa Guerra and LaShawn, for your insightful contributions to today. Whoops, and let me pull up the correct slide here that likes to do its own thing. First, I do want to say, Myra and I put this in chat, we mentioned this Reroll the World Career Toolkit. So again, this is a free resource that you all are welcome to use with your students. It has wonderful video vignettes, student-facing slides, and resources for teachers to support these educational resources, as well as differentiation for your students. But I also want to invite you to join our Educator Success Program. So we kind of sponsored today's webinar. And if you appreciated this virtual event, then and also would like some free resources for your students in your classes, please feel free to join us, and I'll put that into the chat as well. But again, I am so grateful to our panelists today for sharing not just their successes, and they've had just really wonderful, remarkable successes with their programs, but also some of their challenges and how they help to, mitigate some of those challenges by getting buy-in from the teachers, by offering PD, by working with the site-based administrations. So thank you all very much. And we're thrilled that so many of you joined us today from all over the world. We look forward to seeing you at our next webinar.